Hi, welcome back. This is going to be a beginner's video on settings, how to set them up, and a little bit of the terminology surrounding them so that if you see people talking about them, you're able to understand what's going on. So I'm going to divide this video up into 3 sections. The first section is non-negotiables, things that you just want to put in your settings menu. The second thing is personal choice things where you can kind of play around a bit. And the third one is going to be some more intermediate to advanced settings options, which might be useful further down the line, but probably if you're just starting out, you don't need to worry about them for the moment. Okay, so I'm going to be over here for the next little while because some useful things will be happening on that side of the screen. So we're going to start doing those useful things by opening up the little sidebar by pressing ESC. You'll see this thing popping up on your left, and you can access the settings menu from right here by clicking on this little cog. As soon as we open it up, we'll be greeted by 5 different sections: audio, video, game, keyboard and mouse, and controller. I'm going to talk about these first 4 sections. I would not recommend using a controller under any circumstances to play CS unless you're playing with Ilham. And yeah, so I'm just going to skim through each of these sections. They're pretty self-explanatory, and show you the stuff that you need to know, and probably avoid a lot of the stuff that you don't. Alright, so we're going to jump right in with the video settings. When we look at video settings, we're trying to optimize for 2 different things. The first thing is we want the game to run smoothly. This will help with your competitive edge when you're playing, just by increasing your FPS and how smooth everything feels when you're moving around. The second thing is that we want to make the game also good enough so that we can see our enemies. Now that might be like a lower bound that you don't really want to go to because you want your game to look nice, but you want to try and lower the graphic settings enough so that you're getting high enough FPS, because those 2 things kind of go against each other. So generally people will find a balance of what looks nice and what runs well on their PC and see what works for them. Okay, so most of the video settings we're going to see are going to be scientific jargon that you probably won't understand, and I don't understand either, so it really doesn't matter, but just follow my settings. I've gone through a bunch of tutorials. You'll get out okay. Okay, so this first section is more about preference and personal machine stuff, so we can go over that later. Past that, these settings, you want to copy mine. You can change a few if you want to look up some videos to optimize for FPS and things, but these will work just fine as long as your PC can handle it, which should be most PCs. Okay, so starting global shadow quality high. This is going to let you see people's shadows in the game, which is helpful for playing it. Model texture low, you don't really need it. Texture streaming disabled, this slows down your PC a bit. Effect detail low, shaded detail medium. These graphic things somehow give you a certain advantage, I've been told, but it doesn't really matter too much. Just have it the same as me, you'll be okay. Boost player contrast. This is going to enable you to see like small outlines on players, which is really helpful for certain maps where they don't stand out as much. Multi-core rendering enabled. This is just a thing about the usage of multi-cores if you have a multi-core processor. I used to have some problems with this, so maybe try with it on and off and try to match your machine. So if you have a multiple cores in your processor, you put it on. If you don't, put it off. Just be a bit careful with it. It's one of the weird ones. The other ones don't really matter too much. I would put it the same way as me, and it's more advanced stuff that I don't really get, and it doesn't really matter. I don't think so. Just put them the same as me and don't think about it. Don't worry about it. It's all good. Okay, so now on for audio settings. When we're looking at audio settings, we're trying to optimize for one thing, and that is we want to hear where people are, because that's going to be useful in the game. And when we hear where people are, we can shoot them, and we don't have to see them. It's incredible. So if we want to do that, then we want 2 things. First of all, we want to have surround sound, but we don't want surround sound in speakers because that's less accurate if we're trying to find people. So we can do it mainly through 2 different pieces of hardware. You're either going to have earbuds, or you're going to have headphones like me, and then you're going to, in the in-game settings, have stereo headphones, and then make sure the audio device is set to those headphones so that you're getting it out. Then you're going to need advanced audio 3D processing on, because this really helps you positionally get things going on. And then everything else is more just personal stuff. All the music stuff is down here, and the volume, which you can set for whatever you want. But the one thing you do want to have on, which is a non-negotiable, is the 10-second warning volume, which tells you when there are 10 seconds left on the bomb. And that's really important if you're clutching as a CT and you're trying to defuse without a kit, because that will tell you definitely if you can defuse or not. If you hear it and you hear the music start, then you know there's exactly 10 seconds left, and it's either too late or you have enough time to defuse. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the game settings, and the main thing I want to talk about in this section is the HUD. This is going to be quite useful when you start out, and you want to make sure that it's big enough to see. What the HUD is it's this thing in the top left of your screen. And if I wiggle around, then you can see how it moves my map, and it lets me see what's going on. You'll be able to see enemies that any of your teammates see pop up as red dots, and you'll also be able to see where your teammates are on the map at all times, which is very helpful to understand kind of roughly what's going on in the game, especially when you're starting out. And, I mean, throughout the whole of the time playing CS. So you do want your HUD to be big enough to see, like I said. This is 85. This is how I normally have it on. If you put it a lot smaller, then it's quite hard to see and pretty tiny. If you have it like massive, then I mean it's okay, but it's a little bit too big for me there. Like, just find something, but you want to make it big enough so you can kind of see what's going on, essentially. And keybinds, for the most part, the default ones work pretty well. When you're going further down the line, if you want to set up your keybinds to make yourself great later on, then there are a few things you can change that I'll mention later in the video. But for now, you can just use the default stuff. It's not really that bad. Yeah, stick with it. Oh. This portion of the video is going to be about setting up a crosshair, and in my opinion, the easiest way to do this is to use a community map, which I'm going to link down in the description. But to show you what it is, you go on community, then you look up CS Counter-Strike Global Offensive. If you search up Crosshair here, if I can spell it, and search, it should be the top one if you sort by most subscribed or most popular, and it'll be the Crashz Crosshair thing. Here it is. So just here, Crashz Crosshair Generator v3. So you go here, and you'll already be logged on if you're using your Steam client and not the web server. If you're on the web app, then you might have to log in again. But if you click subscribe here, then it will download the map onto your machine. You'll just have to restart CS, and then you'll find it in a bit that I'll show you in a second. We've just restarted our game, and now we're in the CSGO main menu. We're going to have to click on this Play CSGO section on this official matchmaking drop-down box. We're going to go to Workshop Maps, and then from here you can search in your map. If you don't have too many workshop maps, then it'll just be popping up, but here it is, Crashz Crosshair. Click Go, we'll play into this, smooth transition, and we're in. We'll just select one of the sides, start the game. Okay, so now we're in this little nice menu, and yeah, there's a lot of things you can do in here, and I'll just go through a few of them in a second. Okay, so to start off with, when you open up CSGO, you're going to have a default crosshair like this. This is going to get wider to show when you're inaccurate, when you're moving, or when you're jumping. And it will be closer still, and even closer when you're crouched, to show the accuracy when you're crouching. This can be a good indicator when you're getting started straight away, so maybe it's an idea for then, but as soon as you kind of understand that, you know, you're running, and when you stop, you're able to be more accurate, and when you're not jumping, you're able to be more accurate. You should be moving on to a different kind of crosshair, something like this that's just more static. It just increases your consistency when you're trying to spray things. It doesn't make it as wild as trying to spray with a dynamic like this. This is not the right one. Let me go to the default, sorry. Like this, it's sometimes a bit big, and it doesn't really tell you perfect accuracy where you're going. But this is a much more accurate thing, and it will give you a much nicer way of looking at things. The default crosshair is also pretty big, which is quite a lot bigger than what you're expecting, what you'd want to have. You want it small enough so you can see everything behind it, and you don't really need it like these massive lines around the side. It just needs to be enough for you to see where it is. It's in the middle of the screen. You can see if it's on the person or if it's not. One good way to work out if your crosshair is good is to just, or one good way to find a good crosshair is to just steal one from a pro player. So over here, you'll find a list of all the different pro players from all the different teams from about a year ago, I think. You know, you still had Gambit over here, and you had Entropic being an actual team. So, yeah, you can just go here, pick any of them. I think my current crosshair is FaZe Rain's crosshair, which we will find here. Yeah, so this is pretty small. I find it works for me. It's a good size for my monitor, which is something that you need to work for, but I'd recommend just playing around with a few of these, seeing what works for you. If you want to change them slightly, then you can... What the fuck? Okay, I don't know who this is. But you can go here and you can adapt things. So this will give you a T-shape. This will give you a dot. This will give you some alpha, which will change the opacity of your crosshair. So if I go down, it should go less. Yeah, it's just becoming less, but it was really up at the start. So this dynamic gap tells you if it's, I think, yeah, it pops in and out and not. Outline, you know, you can change all these different things, and then you can get the different styles up here if you want to mess around with it yourself and change the colors, of course. One last thing, different colors will have different effects across different outlines. So if I look at the map over here, which is something you can do in this game, you can see how this yellow one stands out very well there, and maybe not so well against this, right? So this sunlight is not as good. So normally people will have green crosshairs. You'll see some people with light blue crosshairs, and some people with some random ones, but most of the time green is the default, and you can go for that. Some people have this dot crosshair, which some people like. It's a bit over the top, I think. But yeah, just play around with it. You can have a bit of fun on this map. And yeah. Okay, so just to finish off, once you find a crosser that you like, all you need to do is just exit the game, and it will be saved in your config until you try and change it again. So that's all good. You can just load into a game, it will work for you. Okay, so that's the end of the beginner section for the video. From here on out, it's going to be a bit more intermediate stuff. So if you're a beginner and you're just getting started, then you're pretty much set for the next 500 hours of playing this game. You won't have to worry about anything else. Just get playing, start enjoying, feeling things out. You can play around with a few settings if you want to. You want to get into that. But if you don't want to worry about that, you don't have to worry at all. You're going to be set. So yeah, I'm just going to start going on to the more intermediate things now. So first things first, the intermediate section, we're going to be talking about the developer console. Before you can get the developer console up, which looks like this, just so you can see, you're going to have to do two things. The first of which is you're going to have to launch up the settings menu again and go into game settings. Where are we right now? Is this game? Yeah. So game, at the top of game in here, you have this little thing right here that says enable developer console. This is going to be automatically ticked to yes to know when you start. So you're going to have to switch it to yes. And then the second thing we're going to do is we're going to have to set the key for it. Which I think is default as tilde, but I have mine as backslash. So I'm going to go into UI keys here, and right here you have toggle console. So yeah, actually it's / here. So now if I click /, this is going to pop up as a little screen, and I can write commands into it, and I'll show you what this is useful for just in a second. So the console is good for a lot of things in CS. It's going to enable you to interact with the game in a much more nuanced way, and to apply the controls that you want to. But for settings, it's mainly just used for setting up certain advanced commands. So the main thing that you will use in CSGO is a jump throw, which is seen like this. This is going to allow you to both throw the grenade and jump at the exact same time, so you don't have to try and do it manually by trying to do that and then release at the same time, which is going to be quite difficult. You can get the hang of it, but it will never be as consistent as having an instantaneous jump throw bind. So the command for a jump throw bind, which I'll put in the description, is going to be this. Bind, then your key. You don't have to use quotation marks, just use the letter key. If you have different keys, then like the Windows key, for example, or the Alt key, you can find the names for those on different websites, but normally I just use a letter. My jump throw is set on N, but I'm going to use L for an example. So if I do bind, jump, this command, jump, semicolon attack, semicolon minus jump, then this is going to jump and throw this at the exact same time. I can then unbind, jump, so unbind L. So if I do unbind L, I now press L and nothing happens. So that's essentially how the bind key works. And this jump throw bind, which is still on my N, is, like I said, going to allow you to do these things. And there's a lot of advanced util, for example, the window smoke on Mirage that allows you to smoke window from spawn, which is going to be, what am I doing? It's from, yeah, it's from here. And these things you just can't do without a jump throw bind. So they're just, yeah, it's incredibly useful. And if you can set one up, then you can start looking up util that will talk about jump throws and things. The last thing that I want to talk about related to controls is going to be the scroll wheel. Now, the scroll wheel is best used for jumping, just because it allows you to b-hop better and get your movement a bit better. My movement's a bit shit here, but yeah, you can get a few more hops. It's a bit easier. If you have it on jump and you're jumping with spacebar, then it's going to be a lot harder for you to do that stuff. The other advantage of having the scroll wheel for jumping is that it forces you to have your grenades on different keys here. The advantage of having them on different keys here is so you don't have to cycle through. Let's say you have a flashbang, a HE, and this, and you have to cycle through when you're trying to get to your flashbang each time. So say you need a flash twice, you go to your nade, and then you have a HE, you need to cycle through again and then throw it again. Some people can get very fast with this. There's someone on my team who gets very fast with this, but it's still not quite as fast as just having a set key you set to a specific nade. Yep, so I have my HE grenade on V, my flashbang on F, my smoke grenade on C, and my Molotov on X. These work well for me, but you can see what works out well for you. I don't really have my decoy bounty or anything important, because I don't normally use it. If I need to use it, I'll cycle through my nades with 4, which is just a... So when it comes to CSGO settings, that's pretty much all that you can do inside of the game. There are a few more nerdy things that you can do to optimize yourself for either smokes or Molotovs. Normally you can only do one of the two, and it's generally relatively hardware specific, so whichever graphics card you'll have something different to do. Past that, the next useful step, if you want to take this further, is to go and look up Autoexec files and launch options, which can give you boosts in certain ways, but I'll link a few videos to those things in the description. And you can go and have fun with them if you want. I will let you fall down that rabbit hole by yourself. But yeah, that's been it from me. I hope you enjoyed the video. Everything in the whole sections, if you need to go back and see anything, should be clearly labeled. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Please leave a like and subscribe, and comment if you have any questions. Also, you can comment what you'd like me to do next. Alright, thanks. Peace.